You know, it's just amazing the amount of information I've received from the coaches, the support that I've got from everyone, the friends that I've made here.
It is nothing like what I have imagined.
I was absolutely hopeless when we started the course, and the process that you go through is absolutely amazing.
I learned how to structure for my training, my workshops, what I'll be doing from now on.
Now, just to tell you, I was 14 years old and left school because I didn't want to speak in front of the class. I leave here today, overcoming that fear.
It's given me my confidence back. It's enabled me to get back up on stage.
You're going to become more powerful, clearer in your message, on point, and you're going to feel like you're part of a tribe.
You can't miss it. This is a total investment in you and your future.
And if you are considering coming along, do not hesitate. The transformation from day to day truly is incredible.
If you're looking to get your message out, I highly recommend that you join Sam and the team for their boot camp.
Powerful, spectacular.
Incredible.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Amazing journey.
You've got to come. You've got to be here.
Try them, honestly. It'll change your life.
What if I told you that there is a place where you can dream big? A place where you can learn how to be an influencer. A place where you can collaborate with others. What if I told you that there is a group of people just like you? A group that's committed to make a positive impact. A group that believes in what's possible for the future. What if I told you that we can help you make a difference? We can arm you with the right tools to never be underpaid, undervalued, and underrecognized. What if I told you that you can join today, like right now? It's time to make a difference. It's time to shine. This is Speakers Tribe.
One thing that I want to acknowledge you about is investing in yourself and ultimately spending time in online education. If you can learn how you can influence more powerfully through video, if you can learn how to create like your online virtual product and even make money online right now, then I'd love to help you through that journey as well.
To all the staff from Speakers Institute, you guys have been really supportive and really, really lovely and encouraging. But to everybody else, for all of your honesty and your courage for stepping up here and just giving all, because I've learned so much from every single one of you and it's just been really, really good.
I just wanted to say, being out of the workforce for 6 years, looking after little kids, and this is the first course I've ever done. And it was astounding. It blew my mind. It was beyond my expectations. And thank you, Kate, for the feedback today. That was brilliant. And it's given me the confidence to back myself, because I didn't have that before. Because, you know, when you leave for a while and you come back, it's all a bit dodgy. So thank you.
Sam, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That has been absolutely awesome. I've learned a hell of a lot today, and I really feel like we're all improving. So thank you so much. It's been really awesome.
I wish everyone all the best on the course. I think it was a wonderful course. And Sam, you've created an amazing business, but I also want to congratulate the people you've got working underneath you, because it wouldn't be that great if you didn't have all this wonderful resource. And I congratulate them for supporting you. It's excellent.
I'd actually just like to thank Sam and the team so much for everything you've done, but I'd really like to thank everybody else. I have learnt so much from all of you. It's just been so exhilarating. I'm so excited for each and every one of you, because it's just the growth in such a short space of time has been phenomenal. So thank you all very, very much.
Welcome to Speakers TV, and wherever you are in the world, there is a reason why you've joined here on this amazing Wednesday. Guys, in this episode, we're going to bring to you some of the best speakers, some of the best influencers, and not only that, we're also showcasing a number of our students who have gone on to either write best-selling books, to be on TEDx stages, or ultimately get them to share their journey on how they made it from an ordinary life through to knowing exactly what their story is and then ultimately learning how to get that story out there. We truly believe in you, and I'm really glad you're tuning in to our Wednesday episode of Speakers TV. We'll see you on the other side.
Our next speaker is just extraordinary. He's a futurist, an author, and a professional international speaker. He shared the stage with Hillary Clinton, Nobel laureates, European and Australian heads of state. In fact, he keynoted at the G20Y20 Global Summit. He's also been on the TEDx USA stage. His travel itinerary with 240 international dates means that he is the most sought after professional speaker. Ladies and gents, Anders Sorman-Nilsson.
G'day. How you going? Yeah? Cool. Can you all make sense of my slightly weird Aussie-Swedish accent? Whatever. We're cool with that. Where are the introverts in the audience? Just you can just nod if you're understanding it. Just making sure the analog signals being picked up by some of the analog and digital radio antenna here in the room. Great to be up here at QT at the Gold Coast. Just caught the tail end of the presentation beforehand, so looked amazing. How good was that? That's like kind of positively disappointing. Was that awesome or what? Yeah, all right, cool. There we go. All right, high levels of interactivity, fantastic. I should just, before I get kick-started as well, ladies and gentlemen, courtesy of Speakers Triumph, Sam, Fran, and the team, all the slides are available for you guys. You can download them, watch them in real time. If you're really analog, you can also just follow along in the real HD presentation that happens here in the room. But if you have an even more analog soul, you can even print out to your heart's delight all the slides as well. Who's old school and likes to print stuff out? Okay, there's a few, fantastic. So, courtesy of Sam and the team, they are available. We'll share the URL in a little bit again in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, as a futurist, how did I handle that from like 0 to 10? Was that all right or not? We'll see. Sam, was that like deliberate to just go, hey, you know, like let's just see, let's just throw him a curveball? All right, there's like hospital pass from Sam. Thanks, mate. All right, cool. So as a futurist, I'm also a little bit of a traditionalist, and I take some inspiration from the old idea of the Roman god of war, Janus. He was said to have one eye firmly towards the future and one firmly towards the past. And I think this is kind of cool when it comes to strategy. And I think it pertains to any speaker. We have to bring the analog and the digital together, tradition and technology when it comes to storytelling. So in today's session, I kind of want to, I guess, bring a little bit of infotainment for you guys to show you a little bit of the maybe magic behind the tricks or the tricks behind the magic, the smokes and mirrors, but also hopefully leave you guys with some real tools and tips that you can use in your own practices moving forward. Because I believe that unless we bring our humanity and scale it digitally and, of course, in the analog world, we run the risk in the future of creating some kind of cyber dystopia that feels a little bit digitally dehumanized. So before I talk about a couple of trends impacting your industry moving forward, let me kind of take you back on a historical journey back into the past to explore with you why, fundamentally at heart, I'm a little bit of a traditionalist. Have we got two channels open now? Should I go back to that one? All right, fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I do my own AV. Actually, so a real human is coming. Thank you very much. All right. Fantastic. Big round of applause to the technologist, the real technologist in the audience. Let me take you back on a historical journey back into the past for a moment in time, to a time that in many ways was a little bit simpler. I'm going to grab a little bit of audio with the audio visual here as well, if we may, from the back desk. Let me take you back on a historical journey back into the past, to a time that was a little bit simpler. Things were a little bit more, in a sense, black or white. I'll just bring it down a little bit, thank you. Awesome. Things were a little bit quieter. They were a little bit more binary, either this or that. And amazingly, back in the 1910s in Stockholm, where I'm from originally, things were just a little bit more zen in a sense. People only amazingly back then wore black or white clothing, in fact. Certainly no bright colour had been invented quite yet. And this here was the urban vista that once upon a time greeted a man by the name of Georg Johansson, the son of Johan, which sounds very Viking-esque, or in Australian we'd call him George Johansson. As the second oldest son on the family farm, he had few inheritance rights, and as a result, he had to make his own commercial future in the cityscape of Stockholm. And his commercial opportunity was to dress the increasingly sophisticated Swedish gentlemen of the era, a time before selfies, Instagram husbands, even selfie sticks, when looking into a camera was still very much of a technological novelty. His opportunity was to open up the doors to his little menswear store in Stockholm in 1916. And as he became a man of commerce and entrepreneurship and a nod to his farming background, he changed his surname from the son of Johan to the man from the southern farm, or in Swedish, Georg Sorman. He's my great-grandfather, and as you can tell, he must have been a bit of a futurist because he's got an awesome haircut, a cool little pocket square. And you can also see that we share some genealogical traits with North Korean dictators. And he invested in the latest technology of the era, the neon sign, to win the then analog hearts and the then analog minds of yesteryear's customers. But for my mother, Birgitta, who looks pretty awesome for a 106-year-old, as you can tell, we moisturize in our family, and my mum still dresses me every day before work. For her, the business world has drastically shifted underneath her feet. Today's customer, just like your customers, are now behaving differently, amplified and augmented through new technologies. We are all, as B2B customers, behaving like cyborgs, people whose mental and physical abilities are extended through new technologies. And in her case, this means that they will walk through the shop, spend time with mum, have a glass of wine or a cup of coffee with her while she's telling them about the provenance of the goods, the family businesses from around the world that she sources her goods from. She'll hand over free intellectual property. And then after scanning a barcode incentivized by Amazon with a 5% discount to contribute to the real-time pricing in the cloud. Who remembers the good old days when cloud was just a meteorological term that blocked the sun in Melbourne, right? They say, hey, we'll think about it, and you know they're not going to think about it. Then they turn their backs onto mum, go to the door, to the sound of a lonely, very small bell, they go outside and order the item on Mr. Porter or at amazon.com/fashion instead. This has been brutalizing my mum's now third generation business. The business is now 103 years of age, and just like many speakers in the industry who hopefully you guys will disrupt, many established speakers in Australia are living on old merits, just like my mum. She goes, if we just pray and hope long enough, this internet thing is just going to go away. All right? My mum doesn't like change, and I think that's in many ways quite human, right? Because change can be awkward, can't it? Who remembers puberty? Okay. Has anyone ever tried changing a partner? Okay. Not necessarily physically exchanging them for somebody else, because I know from personal experience that can be very expensive. Worst financial decision you can ever make. All right? But like selling them on the concept of paleo diets, more long walks on the beach in 2019. How does that pan out by the 21st of January? The problem, of course, with change is that change doesn't care whether my mum likes it, we like it, speakers of any generation like it or not. It's always going to happen without our permission. And when the rate of technological change externally, including the buyer's journey of your business-to-business or your non-for-profit customers, when the buyer's journey is shifting faster than you're adapting, innovating, and being creative in your own practice, sooner or later we'll face the music, just like my mum. And the reality is that the way she runs this business and the way many professional speakers run their businesses in a very analog and frankly unprofessional manner. My mum, her version of big data is with a pen and paper, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 shirts or versions of this SKU left on her shelves. How does that compare with Amazon? Right? The reality is that in many ways, the way she runs her business in a very old school fashion is perfectly prepared for a world that no longer exists. And the world of speaking has drastically shifted, which for you as aspiring speakers is really good news. Because there's a lot of speakers, and Sam would attest to this as well, who are living on old merits, but who have not embraced the new scalable means of communications that is now at your disposal, right? Who still send faxes to speakers' bureaus to gain cut-through, because this used to work in 1991, right? And my mum likes to continue doing things the way her dad did before him and his father before him, because this is how to connect with humans, right? Now, can you imagine how annoying it must be to have a son who's a futurist, right? My mum has absolutely no idea what I do for a living. She calls me her son the glorified astrologer, right? There's no one like your family to tell you what you truly do for a living, right? And you're going to face these challenges when you go and you, of course, build your professional practices moving forward as well. I wrote a little love letter to my mum a few years ago called Digilog, How to Win the Digital Minds and the Analog Hearts of Tomorrow's Customers, where I argue that, Mum, you don't have to throw away the analog baby with the digital bathwater. But to truly connect and win both the hearts and the minds of tomorrow's customers, you have to excel at both tradition and technology. They are not mutually exclusive, but mutually reinforceable. Now, this book has the ears of Fortune 500 executives. The former head of retail at Westpac credits this book in the bricks meeting click strategy of Westpac that have seen it move from number 4 in terms of retail banking customer satisfaction to number 1. Unfortunately for me, the person I wrote this love letter for has not yet read the love letter. I feel like a stalker to my mum, right? Some of you have met my mum in Japan, for example, right? A few years ago, financial services conference, or maybe you missed my mum there. I actually did bring mum to one of these gigs in Tokyo, Japan, a few years ago, which was a special moment in time for me. So what have I just done? I'm going to kind of just go smokes and mirrors here a little bit. Now, who thinks that any speaker that gets up and talks about a book they've just written is a bit of a douche? Okay, you can raise your hands. But did I do it slightly differently? I go love letter to my mum, build a bit of credibility, and then go, I'm heartbroken, because she doesn't read it. But there's some people from Westpac that do. Yeah? Really, what I'm just asking for from a therapy perspective here is for my mum to listen to me. Okay? Who feels like you're just part of family therapy so far? Okay, you guys send me the invoice, please. All right? So, hopefully some opportunities, just in the opening here, for you guys to think about, hopefully some value, but also what's going on behind the scenes as I'm speaking to you guys today. So, let me move forward. I just want to give you the terms of reference, because we are going to come back to your worlds of professional speaking. the terms of reference here, the analog world, the digital world, right? This is the old school way of speaking, right? It's printed materials, it's the analog, it's physicality, right? Meeting, of course, not just the face-to-face, but also interface to interface. Bringing together old school communications with new school, the offline and the online. The personal touch of your business together with, of course, the digital connect. The fact is that professional speakers, we have an opportunity to constantly drive inbound leads and attraction towards our businesses through the variety of social media and digital media that's now available to all of us, right? We can be selling while we are sleeping, and this is magical. This was not possible 10 or 15 years ago. But today, I often wake up with conversions of gigs in the United States, right? And the great thing about that is they pay 4 times the amount of money as they do in Australia. So while I'm sleeping is some of my most productive time, right? And I like to remind myself of that when my 19-month-old Lucian at home keeps waking me up. And I'm like, I'm still providing for our family even when I go up and change his nappies and give him a bottle of milk, right? One of these worlds is sort of high touch, one is high tech, and I believe one of these worlds is about winning hearts, the other one is about winning minds, but of course we have to excel at doing both. And if we think about this from sort of a rough and dirty or a quick and dirty SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats, we know that from a sales and marketing perspective, both of these two worlds have some weaknesses to them. Who feels like sometimes when you're getting digitally spammed, right? You're just going, digital marketing sucks, right? But then we also used to get physical spam. Who gets pissed off and has like no advertising signs on your physical mailbox? Who doesn't know what a mailbox is? Right? Okay, all right. The Gen Ys are showing their age. But of course we can offset the weaknesses of both of these two worlds as well, right? We can hyper-personalize things in the digital world. I'm sure Sam will tell you about, for example, doing personalized video messages or personalized video proposals that can happen in an instant and you can connect globally, right? In a way that we couldn't do it yesteryear. At the same time, I recently just closed a deal for a gig in Barcelona by going out to North Ryde to hang out with the event organizer for AstraZeneca, who are running their global conference in Barcelona, by showing up face to face and connecting human to human, belly to belly, the kind of world that my mum loves, right? We have to be able to do both. And this is, of course, key as we think about a world that we're now living in, which is post-truth, of truthiness, in a world where the Washington Post found that in his first year as President of the United States, Donald Trump told 6,000 lies or misrepresentations. That doesn't mean we can. Because increasingly, storytelling is not just about great stories. Because we've all heard professional speakers who make up statistics. Like you can go and fact check what I just said about Washington Post. Okay? Because we need to tell digitally verifiable stories. And I'll come back to this in a moment. How do you build brands and story in a future where truth and trust are, well, I would say devolving. Some people would say evolving, right? We'll come back to this and give you some tools and tips of how to do this. Because in today's world, we are still sort of limited by how we think about work. A few years ago, in the United States, the then Secretary of Defense, Leon Panetta, thought about the fact that the battle lines of war were shifting, right? And he thought, why don't we start awarding medals for heroism for drone fighters, drone pilots, and cyber warfare professionals? How do you think this went down with real analog war veterans? By the way, I'm from a military family. How do you think it went down? Right? They scrapped this proposal very, very quickly, right? However, today, yesteryear's cowards, snipers, are now being played by Bradley Cooper in Hollywood movies. They are now seen as heroes, even though they are behind the battle line, so to speak. Unfortunately, us as humans think of battle lines, be it in your business or out there in the other world of real battles, in a very linear fashion. Today, though, warfare is about sending in the code first, and then maybe the humans and the robots enter. In your businesses, it's about sending in the code, the digital messages, the digitization of your authentic self before you then turn up to win the battle. Who just heard a metaphor? Right? But this is the world we're now living in. A world where we have to be acutely aware of the trends. In fact, I could argue that no matter what your area of subject expertise is, whether you're a leadership speaker, whether you're a spiritual guru, whether you just love productivity and time management is your thing, we all have to be futurists. We all have to be aware of what's going on in the world to study sociocultural, technological, economic, environmental, and political trends. Because otherwise, we're going to run out of relevance. I still hear speakers talking about customer service as if it was 1983. Right? And sometimes this can work. In the United States, which is a huge economy, like you can kind of get your way around, but you quickly lose relevance in a market like Australia if you pretend as if it's 1983. I was born in 1981, so I really have no idea what I'm talking about in that particular regard, but you know, you get the hint. All right? We all have to be futurists, to think about how we can scenario plan and almost think like science fiction authors of what the industry of speaking, storytelling, story connecting might look like in the future. Make sure you download these slides because these are exercises you can actually complete later on. Today, we don't have the time, but there's a 12-step process, like in any good program. All right? Cool. This leads us to really the first trend that I want to kind of dig deeply into, which is that every business model, including ours, is now getting digitally hacked at exponential rates. What does this mean? We're all getting hacked, either literally or metaphorically. The thing that worries me today with artificial intelligence or computing increasingly happening at a quantum level is not so much that the machines are learning, it's that humans suck at learning or change. I think the two are actually interchangeable. Right? In 1967, the Swedish government decided we were going to shift from left lane driving to right lane driving because, ladies and gentlemen, that is where the future of transport happens. All right? Because the blind spots, like better, etc., could still happen in Australia. We'll see. Although in an era of self-driving cars, we may no longer need left or right lane driving, by the way. Right? It was every ambulance-chasing lawyer, their version of Disneyland. And the big change management mantra of the era was, just smile. We're all just new at this. Isn't it a wonderful change management mantra? Right? When you adopt a new technology and you're trying to figure out your new CRM or your Marketo system or Infusionsoft or whatever, just smile. We're all just new at this. Okay? Let's compare and contrast that world of change to this one. And imagine for a moment sending your kids, your nieces, your nephews, maybe even your elderly grandmother in her wheelchair out across this intersection on her way to the retirement village. Now, according to the World Economic Forum, over the next decade, we'll be able to save 1.1 million human lives as a result of less human error and courtesy of autonomously aware and empathetic IoT, Internet of Things enabled devices like cars. Having had my annual holiday in Italy a few months ago and just barely escaped, I welcome the day when humans are no longer behind the wheels. And when I recently shared this in Mumbai, India, with one of our clients at Bharti Airtel, they said, Anders, this is nothing new. This is what it looks like in Mumbai every day of the week. And we have semi-autonomous cows as well. My mum always says, Anders, the digital world is digitally dehumanized, easy to say if you're Swedish. But in fact, I believe we can be more empathetic, courtesy of new technologies that enables all of us to design our consumer and customer journeys in a better fashion. Technology is now becoming more human and humane, and enabling new ways of telling our brand stories. We've moved from an age of brand storytelling that was just about screaming out our message, right? To a world of social media where all of a sudden actually became a respectful dialogue, right? If your employment brand sucks, someone will say so on glassdoor.com, right? People are taking matters into their own hands. Now, through the connectivity model, we're entering the era of a trialogue between the brand, an IoT-enabled device, and, of course, the consumer. Let me give you an example of this. Who gets nervous when your iPhone or Samsung or Huawei device starts running low on battery? Yeah? Who hated that I just asked the question and you kind of went grip for your, okay, just to check whether it's running on yellow, right? One of the biggest challenges for Tesla in terms of adoption in Australia has been people's sense of range anxiety. Where's the next supercharger station? What do you think your sense of range anxiety might be if you're a Tesla owner in Florida during last hurricane season and you're fleeing with your family and your most beloved belongings in your Tesla and you're getting chased by a hurricane down the highway and all of a sudden the battery starts running bloody low while you see the petroleum-based vehicles overtaking you? But all of a sudden, fret not human, Elon Musk comes across the dashboard and goes, fret not human, we've just remotely upgraded your battery via the cloud so you can safely get out of harm's way. True story. What do you think your relationship to that cold piece of technology has now just become? Right? Relief. It's deeply connected, right? People say the digital world is so digitally dehumanized, but in fact, I believe we can connect with humans through this new world. The great American thought leader and management guru, yes, George Costanza, said that for everything important in your life, it needs to have a physical package. For your cash, there's your wallet. Is this true today? Of course, cash is no longer king, right? Because already your kids, your nieces, your nephews are spending your hard-earned analog cash buying virtual shit online, like virtual sneakers to an avatar. Who doesn't know what an avatar is? You're a futurist as a speaker. You need to be aware of what an avatar is. Look it up. There's something known as Google. All right, you can find out this piece of information. All right, cash is no longer king. Now, the micro vendors on the streets of Stockholm a few years ago who sell our version of The Big Issue, homeless people trying to get out of poverty by selling great journalism, they saw their sales going down month over month. And they asked themselves the question, is it just the case that Swedes are heartless people without a human heartbeat? Somebody else in that management meeting said, or could it be that we live in the most cashless, most digitized economy in the world, yet we only take for payment? They teamed up with a mobile POS provider, point of sale provider called iSettle that enables mobile wallets, biometric payments, NFC payments, credit card payments. Sales went up 59% by removing the friction between the positive intent to do business with this worthwhile cause and the seamless digital execution of doing so. Ask yourselves the question, in your own business, either knowingly or unknowingly, what is the friction, the paperwork, the annoying process, the unavailability of a PayPal button on your website or whatever it happens to be that stands in people's way of handing over money to you, or a cow, or a Bitcoin? Take all forms of payment. Don't go, we're going to charge you 2.5% extra on Amex. It's just money, take it. all right? But design a better customer journey for your clients. Friction kills businesses. Many of you would have flown here. In fact, what the research shows is if we as humans spend another 10 minutes in a security line at an airport, our propensity to spend goes down 30%. If we total all of that across North America in 1 year, that's $11.4 billion lost to the retailers who are unhappily having their little outlet between security and the gate. What's the friction in the customer journey that you've designed? And make sure you start fixing it. I win a lot of jobs in the speaking industry because we're the first ones to respond. You wouldn't believe the number of times that clients and bureaus go, oh yeah, well the other speaker took 3 days to get back to us. Have you got live chat set up? Have you got Lucip set up, which is click to call back, right? Have you got these things on your website to enable fast, seamless customer experiences? Today, we are, of course, choosing to trust digitally, right? We can build digital empathy online. 1/3 of American marriages start online today, and they are described as happier marriages, and they last for longer than humans who met in the real world, who feels ripped off. All right? And it's even higher for same-sex couples, right? This is amazing. We trust people in the digital world. I entrust Lucian to a nanny who had great reviews online. Yes, I eventually interviewed her, right? That's not how people used to meet. Is this how people book speakers today? And your reputation has to live up to the thing you hold so dear, which is your reputation. But if your reputation sucks, right, people are not going to recommend you. The better you look online, the more people are likely to word of mouth recommend you, right? It's not just about word of mouth, it's also about word of mouse recommendations. Okay. All right, let me skip a couple of slides in the interest of time to get back to this point, which is we no longer believe false claims. We don't just go, oh, well, most dentists smoke this cigarette, so I'm going to smoke that cigarette too, right? We want verified storytelling, particularly in a post-truth world. From farm to table, we want the entire story to be verified. Here's an example.
Thank you for buying me that bag the other day.
Come on. It's more for me than you.
God, you have beautiful eyes.
Just a little bit more audio.
Someone tells me that.
I'm the only one that told you that.
No, I don't mean like in a flirty way, but people, when I was a kid, like, you got great eyes. It's like, I'm just a guy.
You're my guy.
I am your guy.
Hey guys. Hello.
Hi, hello.
My name is Dana. I'll be taking care of you today. If you have any questions about the menu, please let me know.
I guess I do have a question about the chicken, if you could just tell us a little bit more about it.
The chicken is a heritage breed, woodland-raised chicken that's been fed a diet of sheep's milk, soy, and hazelnuts.
Okay, this is local?
Yes, absolutely.
I'm gonna ask you just one more time, and it's local.
It is.
Is that USDA organic, or Oregon organic, or Portland organic?
It's just all across the board, organic.
The hazelnuts, these are local?
How big is the area where the chickens are able to roam free?
I'm sorry to interrupt. I have exactly the same question.
4 acres. Give me just a second. I'll be right back, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
She's nice.
Well, you're doing the right thing.
I'm too apologetic.
You are.
I drove way too slow here today, didn't I?
Yeah.
I am so weird with that gas pedal. The thing just moves the whole vehicle forward. And
All right, so here is the chicken you'll be enjoying tonight.
You have this information. This is fantastic.
Absolutely. His name was Colin. Here are his papers, okay?
That's great. He looks like a happy little guy who runs around. A lot of friends, other chickens as friends. Putting his little wing around.
All right, you get the drift, I'm sure, right? Now, I'm not saying you guys are restaurateurs or chickens necessarily, but the idea here is that it's not just about fanciful storytelling, right? So what's an application to this? Ask yourself, is your LinkedIn as good looking as it should be, right? Have you got a good photo up on there, right? Have you got verifications? Have you got testimonials? Have you got your hashtags and your keywords right and set up, right? Because people check us out all the time. We digitally stalk each other all of the time. And from farm to table, right, or from speaker all the way through to the conference that you'll eventually present at, of course, people digitally stalk us through the entire value chain. Now, when it comes to beef, for example, we can tackle food fraud with cybersecurity. Food security through cybersecurity, verified on the blockchain all the way back to the farm where the cow that you're about to have tonight, the holy cow, once upon a time lived until it was harvested, as my agricultural clients call it. Isn't that a lovely term? Like, we're the vegetarians in the room, they're like, what do you say? A human or an animal being harvested, right? Okay, that sounds awful. Until they're slaughtered, but then some of us really like Angus beef. I do apologise. I try to be vegetarian, which I know is the more futuristic style of eating, but I still love protein. Who's with me? Okay, all right. No, we're not going to talk about that. All right, cool. What is happening here, though, is a really important human trust leap. And Rachel Botsman, one of our thought leader colleagues, does this really well. She's just released a book called Who Can You Trust?, where she talks about the fact that today we're living in a world that's not devoid of trust. It's just that trust is digitally democratizing. We used to trust institutions like the church. Now, not so much, right, in terms of recent events. But instead, we choose to trust three things. An idea, like Airbnb. People can rent out their homes to strangers. We were told, never get in a car with a stranger. If a stranger's at the door, don't let him or her in. Now we just go, your reputation is awesome. Here's the red carpet to my home. Here's the key, I'm going away. Why? Because secondly, we trust the platform. And thirdly, what's the person's reputation? What's your reputation on those platforms? That can enable us to make a trust leap to booking you guys. Because a trust leap is always involved. And you guys have the opportunity to shape this. And if you're going, I don't know about this digital world, well, the science fiction author Douglas Adams has some words of caution for you. He's come up with a set of rules to describe our reactions to new technologies. Anything that's in the world when you're born is normal and ordinary. It's just a natural part of the way the world works. Anything that's invented between the ages of 15 and 35 is new and exciting and revolutionary. You can probably get a career in it. Anything invented after the age of 35 is against the natural order of things. As a 37-year-old, I know I'm on a slippery slope right now. The good news is that there's a bunch of speakers out there, professional speakers, who are about to get very, very digitally upended by the people in this room, who are going to start mastering the digital ways of telling your stories. Luckily for these old school speakers, if they retire today, robots can no longer take their jobs. All right? Or humans can no longer take their jobs. And this is totally normal for my son Lucian, who grows up with his human intelligence, which is going to be augmented and amplified by artificial intelligence, who grows up next to Baby X, an artificially intelligent bot from New Zealand, who played Mozart perfectly at 9 months of age. Lucian was a slow walker. He started walking at 16 months of age. Up until that point in time, I like to think of him just doing upper body exercise. But for him, this artificial intelligence that can scale his human ingenuity, authenticity, creativity, and do the grunt work like spreading, easy to say if you're Swedish, punching spreadsheets, Lucian will never have to do. He won't have to learn how to drive a car because AI will do that for him. Are you using your human intelligence and amplifying it with artificial intelligence? Having just touted the benefits of the digital world, I also believe that the digital world can be extremely ephemeral. It happens quickly, yes, but it's also easily forgotten. Who remembers your first digital MP3 download? okay? It was probably a criminal act, but it's a safe, loving, sharing environment in here today. So that's totally cool. All right. On the other hand, and maybe we were demographically biased, who remembers your first vinyl, cassette, or even CD, right, for the audiophiles amongst you? Vinyl is forever. Nobody remembers the first digital download. I really just share this particular slide because when my brother and I are out and about, people go, sing us that song. 8 laughs, okay, fantastic. It usually goes down a bit better. Proclaimers, 500 miles, okay. All right, fantastic, okay. My mum gets super happy with the fact that today, right, last year, we hit a 25-year high in UK vinyl sales. And no, it's not just DJs, right? Mum goes, we're going back to the past. It's safe, we're going to be great. It's going to be a new renaissance, right? A retro renaissance. Then I go, Mum, we also, as speakers, as business people, have to focus on the data. It doesn't suffice to be nostalgic and think that being nostalgic is the same thing as being strategic. We are not going back to the heydays of vinyl and the analog, but the analog still matters because sometimes we overhype new technologies, like conversational commerce. Who's got an Amazon Alexa Echo in your home? Have you ordered anything on it? Okay, not in Australia. You can't in Australia, all right. That's friction to be solved by Amazon. Out of the tens of millions of devices that are installed in American homes, only 2% of Americans have actually conversationally commerced with Alexa. And out of those 2%, 90% have never reordered a thing, even though it's supposedly seamless, right? We have to balance tradition with technology in our industry. Turn up and be bloody awesome in person, but also digitally scale your stories. When I met my financial advisor, Gavin, what was I given? A word of mouth recommendation at an Aussie Sunday barbecue. Now, back in the day, you would have gone, I choose to trust Gavin based upon a word of mouth recommendation. What do we now do? I digitally stalked him for 3 weeks to see whether the brand connotations, futuristic, understands technology investments, really personal, whether his webutation stacked up to his reputation, to see whether we had friends in common on LinkedIn, to check out his social media reviews, his testimonials, to check out his YouTube videos. I also downloaded, because Wi-Fi in air in Australia sucks, so you have to download things first before you get on a flight. Downloaded some of his thought leadership articles. Eventually, after 3 weeks, I emailed him to make an appointment in real analog reality. Now, he's been helping me for the last 8 years. But if he only had the analog touch points, but nothing in between, he could never have garnered where he lost me on the customer journey. Now, because he places cookies on my computer, he knows how people are progressing in their customer journey. He knows that somebody who fills in a form to download his thought leadership articles is pretty close to a sale. And if I had not picked up my laptop and emailed him, he could have contacted me because he now had my details. Do you use the technologies like this? Okay. Got a couple of more slides and then we're going to wrap up. What we need to learn as speakers, B2B, B2C, no matter what you happen to sell, is that the customer journey has changed. It's no longer for you or other speakers, decision, usage, and hopefully brand advocacy for you in a way that's linear. We skip around using analog and digital touch points all of the time. And the question is, where are the gaps in your customer journeys? And if there are gaps, you need to fill them with amazing content. Let me give you an example of this. We've been doing some advisory work in Colombia in the tourism industry. Moving from awareness to engagement, evaluation, decision could look like this. Aha, awareness. There's a magical place called Cartagena on the Atlantic coast, right? Through Google. I want to be inspired by movies and pictures of Cartagena. Instagram, Pinterest. Imagine if you're a tourism operator or a travel organizer, a travel agency, if you got great visual content, video, etc. Evaluation. I think I want to experience Cartagena in luxury. What are the top 3 hotels or premium speakers I should be thinking about? Decision. I'm ready to decide, but how do I make the best decision? Is there a buyer's guide on things to consider in Cartagena? Whether to live in Old Town or maybe in one of the luxury resorts outside of it. How does this translate into your worlds, right? Have you guys got a buyer's guide? Like one of our blogs is, when you're choosing your conference speaker, here are the 7 criteria you as a client should be thinking about. You don't need to book me, but they do. Because we build trust digitally. Finally, next year I want to trump my experience in Cartagena. I've already decided to I do my own stunts too. There's a white line here, I love it. All right. But I want to go further afield to Spain. I want international yet local expertise and curation. Maybe the travel agency that I've already booked with can help me with that. We get deeper into our relationship. And today, as speakers, we're all technology companies with a license in professional speaking. If you're just going to the digital world's too difficult, think again. Because digital is the lingua franca of business. It's not English or Chinese. Digital is the language we all have to master. And you don't want to be illiterate in it. And this is what the research shows us. Business buyers are willing to pay up to 30% more for a superior experience, right? We want to download articles, not see ads, right? We also think that content has a key role as a buyer in helping us decide for which speaker we're going to go with. You guys all have to be thought leadership content generators. And today, we have the means at our disposal all of the time. It's in your back pocket. We are digitally democratized, and it's easy to do. And your authentic voice, where your mess is your message, as you guys all have memorized, is a very authentic way of connecting heart to heart, belly to belly through the digital world. Because nowadays, because of digitization, sales and marketing are converging. In fact, you're all smarketers. And people who understand that sales and marketing are converging. When people download more content and stream more content, the sales function just kind of happens automatically. Most of the time when I have a pre-briefing call with a client, particularly overseas, they're like, we've already watched all your videos. We just wanted to do a final check. Right? Sales kind of happens as a result of your marketing being extraordinary. All right, let me start wrapping up. We are living in a pre-world that is ordained with data. And today, courtesy of the digital world, we can be more humane and customer-centric by being data-centric. Claiming that we're really customer-centric because we just kind of good, like we have this rapport with humans and we gather little snippets of data, doesn't scale. But if we have data about their preferences, all of a sudden we are. And as speakers, we are in the transformation economy, which is really exciting. Because we used to be in an experience economy, which still matters. But today, courtesy of Nike, Lululemon, Acorns, or Rays as they're now called, they are in the business of having humans self-actualize. You guys are in that business. The question is whether you're communicating your role in that transformation economy. All right, I'm out of time. I don't usually skip slides, but let me give you a final couple of questions, ladies and gentlemen. That was like the most awkward. I haven't finished yet, but I'm nearly there, Sam. All right. Futurists don't leave you with 3 silver bullet points, By the way, that's a really easy way for those of you who don't want to fix all your clients' problems to just go, I'm going to ask questions instead. Because have someone told you that you have to give them like 3 practical things to take away from your presentation? I kind of go against the grain on that. I mean, it's good advice, but yeah. I ask questions because futurist, right? Our role is to get your creative wheels into motion. Full stops and silver bullets end cognitive inquiry. Questions get our creative wheels into motion. And my 5 questions to all of you today are the following. Firstly, how can you get 2x the result with half the effort? Through your creativity and also technology. Which old analog processes in your business, remember mums 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Don't offer you any actionable data insights and need upgrading immediately. Maybe invest in a new marketing system like Infusionsoft or HubSpot so you can actually be customer-centric by being data-centric. What's the compound effect of your competition adopting the right exponential technologies while you simply don't by 2025? What's the analog baby in your business, in your authentic self, in your human experience that you mustn't throw away with a digital bathwater, but which can be further augmented and amplified courtesy of technology? And finally, what would your competition not want you to do next? Now, you might all ask, Anders, whatever happened to your mum's little shop in Stockholm, Sweden, where you'll all get 10% mates rates next time you see my mum? Never miss an opportunity to sell or to invite to buy. Well, my mum thought about these 2 worlds and realized that maybe they're not mutually exclusive. She's decided to sort of sit down, quieten down a little bit, and have a conversation with a little Swedish digital unicorn called Spotify. You might have heard of them. To see if she could bring a new soundtrack to her brand, to see if there was still future relevance in her old school business, in the personal touch and the intergenerational wisdom of doing the perfect little pocket square, read video content, to see if video, sound, and of course, digital scalability could connect her old school black and white brand, to take the history, the heritage, her mess as a 3rd generation owner-operator and translate it into multicolored, increasingly globalized future. And as a result, she's digitized both the back end and also the front end, including my brother as a cheap male model. He does a great blue steel. And nowadays, digital and analog touch points seamlessly interweave. And while mum doesn't get everything right, she now adheres to the mantra of just smile. We're all just new at this. Enabling a beta mode of learning or change. And I want to encourage all of you guys to go out and be sticky beaks for the unexplored and to come up with rip-snorting, smarketing ideas that have real chutzpah. Because I think that way your professional speaking businesses will transform. And I think that's exactly the way they are meant to be for the future.
Sam Cawthorn here, CEO and founder of Speakers Institute. If you give me 60 seconds of your time, I'll show you how to set up an online webinar in 48 hours while growing your authentic followers to tens of thousands, and then teach you how to package your IP so they buy your programs online using what we call influence on video. What this means is you talk to camera, share your value, and then stack your offerings and create urgency in a way that makes it so irresistible that they click the button and purchase your high ticket sale. Talk with any of our clients globally, and I promise you will not find anyone that does what we do. All you have to do is to create an online event, share your ideas, and then stack your offerings just like this. And here's the big secret. Everyone is online right now searching for people just like you to help them learn things that you already know. There are people doing it right now, but they probably don't know as much as you. So right now is your chance to learn how to sell online, and my influence on video formula is easy to use and foolproof for anyone to master. Just recently, I did a 1.5 hour video online to only 40 people, and at the end, 10 of them bought my $4,000 product, all by one click of the button. It was seamless. So if you want me to show you how to influence on video, stack your offerings that make it irresistible, learn my exact script so you can come across authentic and real, and create urgency so then they buy immediately, then click on the link below and join my free masterclass.
Share, how good the feeling was after completing the session, and I think the feedbacks were just too good. So that is forcing me to think beyond. I think it was pretty linear thinking earlier, and now it is pretty diversified. So that is very helpful.
Thank you, Charlene, Christiane, and Sam, for obviously the benefit and the inspiration you've given to so many of us, and to all the participants, because I think for me personally, this is the first time I've felt that I've been in such a safe space to be vulnerable and to make mistakes. And I know that a lot of us have shared some really traumatic events in our life, possibly for the first time publicly. So that's just been a really huge thing. So thank you for everyone for opening up and for people to open up and be authentic.
I'd like to firstly acknowledge you, Sam. Thank you so much for instituting the Speakers Institute and all of the lovely people who've attended today. I think they've done an absolutely wonderful job. I think all of their stories are worthy of stage presence. I think you'll all go very far.
I just wanted to say, being out of the workforce for 6 years, looking after little kids, and this is the first course I've ever done, and it was astounding. It blew my mind. It was beyond my expectations. And thank you, Kate, for the feedback today. That was brilliant, and it's given me the confidence to back myself, because I didn't have that before. Because you know, when you leave for a while and you come back, it's all a bit dodgy. So thank you.
And it was really an experience which I was looking for, to give that push, the last push which is needed, because I'm very low on execution. So your story and your message gave me that push which I really needed. So thank you very much, and also to the fellow participant for bearing with me.
Thank you, everyone. You've all inspired me today, and I want to thank you, Sam, for putting this on, and Christiane and Charlene inspired me to come through conversations we had, and so I'd like to thank her in particular, and got a lot out of it. So thank you, everyone, and thanks for all the lovely comments.
First of all, I would like to say thank you, massive thank you to every single one of you. It was a great company. Proximity is power. I'm overwhelmed with all the love and energy and everything else. I've learned so much. And by this sheer circumstances by now, that I'm sitting at home and I actually can do it. I'm blown away that I'm actually doing it. It's amazing.
And I really want to thank you, Sam, for this amazing course.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank every single one of you, especially you, Sam, and all of the mentors as well. There can be at times where we're alone. We think we're the only ones, we feel like we're the only ones going through that, and to share would be to burden each other. But in a space like this, it actually brings us closer together. So thank you very much for sharing all your stories, and thank you for the opportunity.
I'd actually just like to thank Sam and the team so much for everything you've done, but I'd really like to thank everybody else. I have learnt so much from all of you. It's just been so exhilarating. I'm so excited for each and every one of you, because it's just the growth in such a short space of time has been phenomenal. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. It has been absolutely awesome. I've learned a hell of a lot today, and I really feel like we're all improving. So thank you so much. It's been really awesome.
I wish everyone all the best on the course. I think it was a wonderful course. And Sam, you've created an amazing business. But I also want to congratulate the people you've got working underneath you, because it wouldn't be that great if you didn't have all this wonderful resource. And I congratulate them for supporting you. It's excellent.
Thank you very much. All the feedbacks were golden for me. I learned a lot. Plus, how I should not try to put all the information in those 6 minutes. I should let the audience absorb what I'm trying to convey. They should absorb my story, and so as the energy level should fluctuate properly at the right moment. So thank you very much for that.
So I want to say, look, I've forever been doing courses and programs. I've probably spent over $350,000 in my life. This was worth every cent. I'm very, very impressed with the level of knowledge of the coaches. And they just kept offering gold nugget after gold nugget. Definitely was worth every minute as well. Yeah, I really want to thank the coaches, and I've noticed a difference in everyone as well over the last couple of days as well. So thanks.
Guys, I just wanted to say my work relies on face-to-face workshops, speaking at conferences around the world. So investing in this course is really about looking to the future. So it's really an investment in the long term. It's been a really, really professionally put together course. So commendations all round to all of you.
To all the staff from Speakers Institute, you guys have been really supportive and really, really lovely and encouraging. But to everybody else, for all of your honesty and your courage for stepping up here and just giving all, because I've learned so much from every single one of you, and it's just been really, really good. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Cordiner, and a long time ago I was one of the proteges. Now back then I had absolutely no idea where I was going to go. I was an expert in my field, but I was working very much in the corporate space. I also had no followers on any social media accounts. I had no email list. I had no people anywhere on a database that was out there in the public market. But I knew that I needed and wanted to get out, get online and make a difference to the world. And I knew that the only way I'd be able to do that is to go out and start speaking, putting myself out there as an individual. And it was really confronting because there's all these kind of things that we go through. Will people like me? Will people engage with me? Will anyone even care about what I have to say? Will people mock me? Will people criticize me? Will I be torn down by my competitors or trolls? So I had all of these worries, like everyone else does, not knowing where I was going to start. You know, do I start with the logo, the website, the message, the thing, the branding, the story? It's all very, very overwhelming. So I want to reassure you guys that I was absolutely there. After going on Sam's program, I have gone on to win multiple awards. I have now got over 20,000 students in 146 countries. I have been listed by the Huffington Post as one of the top 50 must-follow female entrepreneurs. I've published 12 books, 5 of which have gone to international #1 bestseller. I recently was headhunted by a university and now hold the record for being the youngest university director in Australian history. And I have done all of this from working in the spare bedroom in my house. I now have a multi-million-dollar education company with children running around. And one of the things that I really want to make clear to other people is that everyone can do this. Every single person. I had no special starting point. I had no investors. I've never had anyone give me money. I absolutely have just started on the corner of a kitchen table with nothing but a dream, a drive, and an ambition. And that is the only thing you need to get started.
I was in Smithsonian Museum, Washington, DC, and they had a fabulous collection of Mughal textiles on display when I was there. The reason why I'm here is I want to learn speaking in front of people. I wanted to learn the technology of speaking in front of people. This is our world heritage. Once these weavers lose their skill sets, it's extremely difficult to create those skill sets.
I can tell that you really care about this industry.
I do.
I see your heart, and I believe that you are going to create a global movement.
Thank you very much, Speakers Institute, and thank you, Sam, for putting together this whole program together. Thank you.
This is a Celebrity Authority Show. Please welcome your host, Sam Cawthorne.
Well, super excited about this interview here today. We have Rajan Thananayagam here in the studio, a management consultant, thought leader, and human potentialist. Rajan, thank you so much for joining us.
Good to be here, Sam.
Human potentialist. What does that mean?
Life is an adventure, Sam, and exploring myself has been that adventure. And through my own exploration of myself, I'm discovering my own human potential. And that is my message to the world.
So do you think everyone can discover their own human potential? And are we looking at the potential of your physicality or mindset?
It's a holistic approach, Sam. I guess we all are gifted with our human potential. I mean, we are in this earth for a purpose, and we are gifted with this amazing gift called our potential. And most of us, we don't realize that thing. We choose to live below our potential, what we could achieve in our lifetime.
Like in our comfort zone. Yeah?
We are in our comfort zone. Most of the time, I mean, we live in a culture that is very achievement oriented. And once we achieve what we wanted in our lives, I mean, we go into a stage of feeling unfulfilled, and most often we feel there is a void in our life, and there is this silent voice that's so desperate to come out, and we choose to stay in that comfort zone, and we place limits on ourselves as to what is possible in our lifetime. So hence we lead quite a desperation.
Rajan, I'm really curious now. Tell us about your story and how you came to this moment of realizing your own human potential. What's your story?
I guess my life has been a long journey. I came to Australia 16 years ago, and Sri Lanka. And I think the turning point I had in my life was about 7-8 years ago. I was in a high pressure corporate job, and I was fully burned, and I was at a low point in my life, something I haven't experienced before. And so I was going through intense physio treatment to address some of the physical ailments that I was having. On the other side, for the first time in my life, I went to a counselor to get some help. And one question from the counselor what really woke me up. And here she asked me, did you feel suicidal? And I couldn't give her an honest answer. And that really shocked me, because the truth was, I was in fact. And it put me in a state of shame, because here's someone who lived through much bigger challenges in their life. I mean, I've been a refugee in my life and been incarcerated because of my communal denomination. So faced a lot of racial discrimination. I lost my father, my brother, but I always had hope and faith. And what happened to me? And that question led me to explore. I'm leading a life of pretty comfortable. I mean, I achieved a lot. I came to this country, I got a good job, I built a new house, bought cars, traveling. I achieved a lot. But I left this void to build in me. And hence, on the insistence of my friend, I took on a little challenge to do a baby triathlon. And at that time, I was so overweight.
To do a baby triathlon?
Yes, I mean, it's a sprint triathlon, which is only about 500 meters of swimming, 20 kilometers of cycling.
It's only about.
Yeah, about 4 kilometers running. And then I thought, okay, I mean, no, this is not for me, because I'm overweight, I'm unfit. But somehow this guy insisted that I do this. So I went and did the first thing, and then I thought, okay, maybe this is it.
Well, was it a challenge doing that first triathlon?
Yeah, it was a huge challenge, because I was fearful of it. I was mortally fearful that I may not survive that distance. But when I finished that thing, and I said, this is who I am, because I enjoyed life. I survived. And that survival itself was my life challenges. And hence, I started upgrading my challenge.
And this really helped you to get out of this depression state, really?
Yes, I mean, I think that first question raised the level of awareness in me. Yes, this is where I am, and I need to get out of this thing very soon. So, and so hence I did my first Ironman in 2011. And
what's an Ironman?
It's a race that involves 3.8 kilometers of swimming, 180 kilometers of cycling, followed by a 42.2 kilometer of running. That is a full marathon.
And how long does this take?
It can take anything between 8 hours to 17 hours. So
Depends how fit you are.
yeah, exactly.
And that's
So
non-stop.
that's
No, you
non-stop,
can't- you don't
back to
stop.
back, continuous. So they say it's arguably the toughest race. But then again, I mean, this may look a mindless exercise, but you need to do this for a purpose. The very first thing I did was to dedicate that race to my father, who had been a big inspiration in my life, and yeah, and I think since then I thought this is possible. I mean, I can do this. And I started stretching myself more and more, and here I am. I mean, this journey had inspired me so much. I'm taking Ironman to Sri Lanka. I mean, the first ever event in the South Asian region. And
That is awesome, by the way, Rajan. I think that's just
oh, thank you, Sam. Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm really looking forward. I'm pretty excited. I mean, getting the country to be fully excited about that event, and so and I'm spreading the message of human potential. I mean, the title for the event is "Challenge Your Limits." Do something that you never had done. Get excited about what you can do with your life. And that message is sinking in, not only in Sri Lanka, globally, I would say.
So for other people out there that might be feeling what you were feeling many years ago, that they might be stuck, or let's say they're even having these depression or even suicidal thoughts, how do you get through that transition? What, like, go out and do an Ironman, is it? Or
no, I wouldn't recommend that. I mean, there's a 4-step process, Sam. Okay. So number one, raising your level of awareness, understanding the dissatisfaction that you're going through, the state that you are in. Right. And that awareness will help you to really articulate where you are at this moment and what are you feeling. And once you connect to that feeling, it's a case of turning that dissatisfaction into something of an inspiration.
Yeah, that's great.
And out of the inspiration, you go to the step 2, answering your why.
That's great.
And gaining the clarity of purpose, of your purpose on earth. And step 1, 2, so you're still in your comfort zone and all what you're doing is some work. And step 3 involves you taking on a challenge that can
now you're ready to take action. Yeah.
Absolutely yank you out of your comfort zone. And step 4.
So can we go back to step 3? So taking on a challenge. So this challenge could be anything from trekking Kokoda through doing an Ironman, or maybe even doing a new business venture.
It can be anything. It can be anything. It can be anything in the sense. It may be a case you want to become a speaker because you believe you have a message out in the world, but you are fearful. You may think, oh, my voice is not good. I don't have a stage presence. And I'm telling you, challenge those limits. Go out there.
It's not just a small challenge, it's a big challenge.
Big challenge. Yeah. You can take, I mean, the amount of challenges, it can be even doing your first kilometer of running that you never had done.
Great.
And
then step 4?
And step 4, taking action, building that momentum behind the challenge so that you start realizing your milestones and the goal. And the end outcome is not a goal, Sam. The goal is to learn and grow. There are only 2 things that can happen to someone's life. Either you are growing or you're decaying. There's nothing in between.
There's no sitting on the fence.
No, there is no sitting on the fence.
You're either learning or you're dying.
That's exactly right, Sam.
And going back to your journey, did you just do the one Ironman?
No, since then I've done 14 Ironmans.
You've done 14 Ironmans. What all here in Australia, or?
I mean globally. So I've been traveling through Asia, done one in New Zealand. And yeah, so next year I'm very excited. I mean, I would get an opportunity to go and race the World Championship in Hawaii. So I'm pretty excited about that. So next year I'm really looking forward to it.
Mate, look, that is just exceptional, Rajan. So will you just continue to do this? Are you inspiring other people, obviously now bringing it to Sri Lanka?
I guess my biggest inspiration is my 2 kids. You can't teach a kid about life values, but you can show them how to live them. So I'm becoming an example for them to model in their own life. And I constantly challenge their limits. And the excitement that I see from them, it's a huge inspiration for myself.
Have they started to do their own
Yes,
triathlon
yes,
or
yes.
Ironman? Or?
Yes, my kids, I mean, last week I told my daughter, in another 4 years' time, you and I are going to Kona, Hawaii, to do the World Ironman Championships.
And she's excited?
She is damn excited, I'll tell you. I mean, she's already starting her training. She's a really good swimmer. She swims so gracefully and so beautifully. And now she got it naturally in her to start cycling and running. And yeah, she'll be a force.
Rajan, you certainly are a human potentialist. You're a living embodiment of that.
Thank you,
we
Sam.
thank you and acknowledge you for the message that you have in the world. And also, we're going to follow your journey, particularly there bringing it to Sri Lanka as well in 2018. Rajan, thank you so much for joining us here on
pleasure,
the Celebrity
Sam. It's a pleasure.
Authority. However, look, just before you go, we have a challenge for all of our guests. And the challenge is the 10 questions in 60-second challenge. So I know you're up for challenges. So Rajan, do you accept the challenge?
Bring it on!
All right, Rajan, your time starts now. Favourite colour?
Blue.
Blue. Favourite food?
Sashimi.
Sushimi, yeah. Favourite celebrity?
I would say Dr. Mohammad Yunus, founder of the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh.
Wow. Well, he sounds very inspiring. Favourite actor?
Late Robin Williams.
Yes, yes. Oh, total. Patch Adams, one of my favourite movies. Yeah. Favourite professional speaker?
There is this dodgy guy called Sam Cawthorn.
I don't know who you're talking about. Favourite book?
Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
Oh, yes. That would also be in my top 5 as well. Absolutely.
It's a phenomenal book.
It is. Favourite movie?
Toy Story.
Toy Story. Come on, that's awesome. Favourite city?
Colombo, Sri Lanka. Where I grew up.
Yeah, I have been there once. Favourite drink?
Water.
Water.
Water is life.
Absolutely. Favourite pizza topping?
I would say seafood and cheese.
Ah, yum. And Rajan, if you could be an animal, which animal would you be?
I would say I would be an eagle.
An eagle? Why is that?
Because you need to soar. Life is meant to soar and enjoy the freedom. And I feel the eagle embodies all those characters.
Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much again, Rajan, for joining us here at the Celebrity Authority Show.
Thank you, Farrick.
Our next TENx speaker is an expert in caring and modern slavery. Having worked in caring professions for the past 20 years across 5 continents, she has learnt some of life's richest lessons from some of the world's poorest people. Her mission is to see Australian businesses inspired to do good for local and global impact. Today, she will be sharing stories of people who have inspired of good business is doing good. Please welcome to the stage, Sarah Morse.
Imagine. Can we have the slides at the beginning, please? Imagine. It's first thing in the morning. You're walking through your local shopping mall and you haven't even had a coffee yet.
That's good.
It's drastic. And so you're walking around, bumbling along, trying to think about what you need to do that day. And all of a sudden you spot them. 2 coffee shops next to each other. 2 coffee shops, 2 cups of coffee. Let's call them Cup A and Cup B. Cup A is fair trade coffee in a biodegradable cup. Cup B is made with slave labour in Africa in a plastic cup. Now, I know it's first thing in the morning, you're still really tired, but almost by instinct you make a choice. Can I see by a show of hands who would choose Cup A? Now, for those of you who don't have your hands up, I assume you're Cup B, but don't worry, nobody's judging you. So there's about 100 people in this room. And so just then was a picture of the current statistics, which show that 87% of consumers would purchase a product because that company stood for an issue that they care about. And check this out. 92% of consumers have a more positive image of a company when the company supports a social or environmental issue. But have you ever felt like most companies just don't care? Have you ever felt that they're just out to make a quick buck and not really interested in giving back? Has anyone ever felt that? Well, today I'm going to show you that the future of good business is doing good. And so Richard Branson recently said, the boundaries between the higher purpose, between work and higher purpose are merging into one. And doing good really is good for business. I wonder if you've ever selected a product based on more than just what the product offers you. As an example, I use thank you nappies for my baby. Now, this isn't my baby, but I can assure you my baby is just as cute and just as cheeky as this one. Although they're several dollars more expensive than other brands, I choose thank you nappies because I know that 100% of my money is going to maternal and infant health programs. And when I checked their website, look what I found. Oop. Almost 95,000 mums and bubs have been impacted because consumers like me made that choice. Now, when I was 17, I visited Africa with World Vision. This trip changed my life as I encountered poverty for the first time. And they took us to this little clinic in a village in Zambia, something just like this one. And we got to meet the mothers and their babies who'd been born there. And as I cuddled this gorgeous little black baby with his big chubby cheeks and these sparkly brown eyes, and I chatted to her mum, she told me that she was so grateful to have a safe place to give birth that she called her baby girl World Vision. How cute is that? And so now when I use thank you nappies, I think of little baby World Vision running around a village in Africa. And I look at my beautiful baby in front of me and I give thanks for a healthy baby. You see, we all have stories and values. Yours might be different to mine, but in the end, they're what drive our consumer choices every day. And in this story of the thank you nappies, we see that doing good is good business because it creates consumer loyalty. It increases sales and creates a positive brand message. But that's not all that doing good does. Doing good creates purpose. We heard this morning that the workforce, 35% of the workforce is made up of millennials. And those millennials are the most purpose-driven generation that we have. I recently had the opportunity to meet the Managing Director of Konica Minolta, Dr. David Cook, who believes passionately that businesses doing good is good business. This is what Dr. Cook says: the greatest sign of your strength is not how much you get, but how much you give. And David has developed a culture of caring within his company that looks like this. It starts off with staff and then goes out to partners, customers, community, and the world. And when I asked David, what evidence does he have that doing good is good business? He replied, my evidence is that in a market where people have less needs for printers and photocopiers and print media, that year by year, we're selling more products, we're offering better customer service, we're producing more innovation, and we have a higher rate of staff retention. These are things that are reflected in research that companies who do good also experience. And as I spoke to David's staff, they were so passionate about the company that they were working for. Their passion was contagious. And all of a sudden, I wanted to work for Konica Minolta, and I don't know anything about printers and photocopiers. And then, as they started telling me about their global caring initiatives, their passion grew even more. Konica Minolta is leading the way in Australia to eradicate modern slavery from its supply chains. It also supports a project in Cambodia which offers employment training for survivors of human trafficking. Now, this has absolutely nothing to do with selling printers and photocopiers, right? But what I heard those staff say were things like, well, it just makes me feel like I'm a part of something bigger. Or, you know, I turn up to work every day and I know I'm making a global impact just by turning up. It creates connectivity. It creates purpose. It creates a greater sense of belonging for staff in those companies. But do you know what? Companies today in Australia can no longer choose to eradicate modern slavery out of their supply chains. It's now the law. The new Modern Slavery Act that was recently passed now asks companies in Australia to show where they have risk of modern slavery in their supply chains and what they're doing about it. Modern slavery. There are more slaves in the world today than any other time in history. 40 million people are currently being exploited for cheap labour and sex worldwide. 40 million. And out of those, 2/3 live in the Asia-Pacific region. And so that means that for many, many years, Australian businesses and consumers have inadvertently been benefiting from modern slavery in the food we buy, in the clothes we choose, in the suppliers we use, and in the businesses in which we invest. Modern slavery. This is an issue which is so close to my heart because for the last 20 years, I've been working with some of the world's poorest people. I have seen exploitation in its rawest forms. I know people who are survivors of modern slavery. I've sat with them, I've listened to their stories, and my heart's broken with theirs. I've looked into their eyes, and I've seen their pain. Stories just like Bithi here. She's one of thousands of children in Bangladesh working in garment factories to make designer clothes that will be sold here in Australia and around the world. Abject poverty forced Bithi's family to make the heartbreaking decision to put their 2 daughters to work in one of these garment factories. Although Biffy works hard and produces almost 480 pairs of pants a day, she's just sewing the pockets, so she's contributing to 480 pairs of pants. She earns just $1. But I have hope for Australia. Because you remember back to those coffee cups? Where people are given the opportunity, they will try to make an ethical choice. And so, now more than any other time in history, Australian consumers and businesses have the opportunity to make a global impact on modern slavery. Now, more than any other time, if we comply with the Modern Slavery Act, we can actually see thousands of people like Biffy freed from modern slavery. And what happens when those people are free? It means that their children are born into freedom. It means that we have the power to change a generation. Right now, before us, is an opportunity. I like to call it corporate social opportunity. This is the opportunity not only to increase your company's bottom line, not only to see a higher rate of staff retention, not only to create purpose within your company, but to create a local and a global impact. Opportunity. What are you going to do with this opportunity today? Perhaps if you're a consumer, you can switch out one product for another to make a more ethical choice, or contact the people who make your product. Or if you're an employer, maybe you need to get your team together and work out what you're doing about the Modern Slavery Act. You know, the consumer voice is only going to grow. But now, more than any other time, we have the opportunity to impact the world. So when we take this opportunity, we know it changes our business on every single level. The future of good business is doing good.
Wow, thank you.
The journey has been transformational in terms of thinking. It's one of those times where you think, God, I just wish I would have found Sam and the team before, because I wasted a lot of time trying to do things on my own. Sam and the team have really helped me to refine my message, understand my message, and shape it in a way which has led to a lot more clarity and a lot more confidence in telling that story to many, many people. I think it's fair to say that I was thinking too small. I see problems all over the place. An element that I'm particularly passionate about is the benefits of food. I changed my diet a decade ago, and that has really shifted my entire lifestyle, my entire thinking, and it came from that one thing. So I'm not saying that changing your diet will change your entire life, but it's certainly the starting point, and certainly in my experience it was. And I want to share that energy, I want to share that passion, I want to inspire people to make changes in their lives that they can change and speak to global audiences around the world. So I'm trying to think bigger. It's kind of a scary thought, but over the last 6 months I've made a lot of progress, and I'm doing things now that, you know, a decade ago I just wouldn't have even contemplated doing.
Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode here at Speakers TV. My name is Sam Cawthorne, and we are super excited about Speakers TV and about these episodes that we bring to you every single weekday, as well as also on every single Saturday. Guys, we'd love to hear from you. If you've got any feedback at all for us, or maybe you want to comment right now in the chat bar about what was your biggest takeaway from today's session. But also, not only that, why don't you join us So here at Speakers Institute, we do have a number of programs such as our online boot camps or our protege program. At Speakers Tribe here, we're all about running these big, large annual conferences every year, but also not only that, there is an annual membership that you can get where in your city we do have tribe gatherings, all really encouraging you going from where you are today to where you really want to be. Or maybe you want to tell your friends and your family about Speakers TV. But can I please encourage you, why don't you like this page? Why don't you join us each day? Why don't you tell other people about these episodes? Because we are all about really helping you on this journey to becoming that recognized voice of authority, for you to find your message and your story and get that out there into the world. We are super excited about your journey, so please lean in and join us today. To your success, my name is Sam Cawthorn, and don't forget, the best is yet to come.